You can't punish your past self into being better. You can only love your present self into growing. Your past mistakes weren't mistakes. They were stepping stones disguised as stumbling blocks. No one's here to make sure we do everything right. Your soul doesn't come here to get it right. It came here to get it real. Every time you judge your past, you're choosing your ego's story over your soul's wisdom. So you stop wasting energy on what was, and you start... I need you to stop what you're doing right now and really hear this. You did what you knew how to do. With the consciousness you had, the tools you possessed, the wounds you were carrying, the programming that you inherited, you did what you knew how to do. And if you're sitting there thinking, but I should have known better, let me tell you something. That's not going to change anything. That's not going to change anything about the past. You can't know what you don't know until you know it. And I know that sounds confusing, and I'm going to explain it here in a second. Because a lot of us will have self-judgment, won't we? And self-judgment is just ego trying to time travel. You can't punish your past. You can't punish your past self into being better. You can only love your present self into growing. Well, if you don't know who I am, my name is Jason Rigby. I am the host of HDL Podcasts, where we get real about the messy, beautiful journey of what it is to be human. And today we're talking about the most radical form of self-liberation, accepting that we've always been doing our best with what you had. And you say, no, I've made a lot of mistakes, Jason. We're going to get into that today. Because the moment you stop judging your past, you free up all that energy to create your future. And trust me, by the end of this episode, you're going to understand why self-compassion isn't just nice. It's literally, I believe, the fastest path to transformation. So let's get into the myth of should have known better. Let's start with the biggest lie your inner critic tells you. I should have known better. This phrase, guys, is spiritual poison, and here's why. When you say, I should have known better, you're literally arguing with reality. You're saying that with the exact consciousness, the exact circumstances, the exact information I had in that moment, that I could make a different choice. That's delusion, guys. That's not wisdom. I should have known better? No. You didn't have the info. You weren't evolved. It's totally different when you're 15 compared to when you're 30. Should have known better is the ego's way of pretending that it can rewrite history. Always remember, guys, the ego wants to do one thing and take control. It wants to hijack and keep you from your higher self. Newsflash, you can't upgrade your past with your current software. It doesn't work that way, does it? Here's what actually happened. Are you ready? This is going to revolutionize some of you. You made the best decision you could with the level of consciousness you had at that time. And that consciousness was shaped by your childhood programming, your unhealed wounds, your limiting beliefs, and the information you had available then, not now, then. You can't judge your 20-year-old self with 40-year-old wisdom. It doesn't work. That's like getting mad at a caterpillar for not being a butterfly. The truth is, guys, every choice you've ever made was perfect for the person you were at the moment. Not perfect in the sense of good or right, but perfect in the sense of inevitable, given your state of consciousness in that moment. Your past mistakes weren't mistakes. They were stepping stones disguised as stumbling blocks. You're like, yeah, I like all the spiritual stuff, but what about the science in this? This sounds nice, but is this just kind of giving me permission to make excuses? Here's where the science gets absolutely fascinating, guys. There's a researcher by the name of Dr. Kristin Neff, shows that self-compassion actually leads to higher standards and better performance than self-criticism. When you stop beating yourself up, you create the psychological safety needed for growth. Self-criticism keeps you stuck in the same patterns. Self-compassion gives you the courage to change them. So here's what happens neurologically. You guys ready? This is what's happening in your brain. When you practice self-judgment, you activate your brain's threat detection system. So your nervous system goes into survival mode. which shuts down the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that's responsible for learning and growing. So you're in fight or flight. There's a threat. I'm in survival mode. That's what happens to your body. Think about it. This is what's happening to your body when you're self-judging yourself. And there's no learning or growth. It's shut down. But when you practice self-compassion, you activate the caregiving system. The caregiving system floods your brain with oxytocin, releases the neuroplasticity needed for actual transformation. You can't heal in the same emotional state that created the wound. Self-compassion is the medicine that heals that wound, that changes your state. This is why people who practice self-compassion actually make better choices moving forward, because they're not operating from fear and shame. They're operating from love and wisdom. The voice that heals you is never the same voice that hurts you. I'm going to say that again. You ready? The voice that heals you is never the same voice that hurts you. So what's your inner dialogue about? You need to understand that your inner dialogue, like your life depends on it. That critic voice that talked to you when you're 20 and is still bugging you when you're 30, that's not the guy that's going to heal you. That's not the voice. So let's go deeper. I want to get into this, and I know some of you have followed the podcast for a while, and you're like, Jason, I'm ready to go deeper, the spiritual dimension. I'm going to make this easy for everyone. Even though we're going to go deep spiritually, we're going to get into a spiritual, like fourth density dimension, it's still going to be easy for everyone. You did what you knew how to do. I'm going to say that again. You did what you knew how to do. That isn't just psychology. It's a spiritual law. Every wisdom tradition teaches that consciousness evolves through experience, not through judgment. In Buddhism, they have a concept called the beginner's mind. This is the idea that every moment is a fresh start. Every moment is free from the baggage of past judgments. Jesus taught, what did he say in the New Testament? Judge not, lest ye be judged. And that includes judging yourself. The universe doesn't judge your journey. In fact, it celebrates your courage to take it. Your higher self gets excited when you make decisions, whether you think is bad or good and you're limited to perception. That meat suit that you have now, you've been in thousands of them. The higher self knows, which is like the future self, if you want to go there. The only one keeping the score is you. So here's what I want you to understand. Your soul didn't incarnate to live a perfect life. It incarnated to live a full life. And fullness includes what you call mistakes, failures, and wrong turns. No one's here to make sure we do everything right. Your soul doesn't come here to get it right. It came here to get it real. Every single experience you've had, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, it's all spiritual data for your soul's evolution. You can't have wisdom without experience, and you can't have experience without sometimes making choices that don't work out. And I know we call that regret, but you know what regret is? It's just wisdom trying to be born. And I'm going to be rude here when I say this, but it's wisdom trying to be born, but then your judgment, that process of judgment aborts the wisdom that needs to be born. So I want to get into another aspect that a lot of us don't even realize, and that's the generational healing. These generational wounds, these generational chains that hold us back from your great-grandparents and your grandparents and your mom, your uncle, your aunt. Here's something that's going to blow your mind. When you practice self-compassion for your past choices, you're not just healing yourself. You're healing an entire lineage. Think about this. The patterns you're judging yourself for, guess what? You inherited most of them. The wounds you're carrying, they've been passed down from your mom, your grandma, your great-grandma, through generations. The programming that influences your choices, it's ancestral. So your self-judgment isn't just hurting you. It's perpetuating the same shame that wounded your ancestors. So when you say, I did what I knew how to do, when you say that about your own life, you're also saying it about your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, and you're breaking that chain of intergenerational shame. Healing yourself heals your bloodline. That's why self-compassion, to me, is the most radical act of service you can perform. Your parents did what they knew how to do with the consciousness that they had. And yes, it shaped their wounds and their programming, but your parents did what they knew how to do. And you could say, my grandma did what she knew how to do, and so on, back through the generations. Because you can't heal what you judge, can't you? Compassion for your story is compassion for the human story. It's compassion for your generations. And you have the opportunity with self-awareness right now to break this. And your higher self, guess what? This wound has been happening maybe for 50 years, 100 years, 200 years, whatever it is, 400 years. And now you, put your name in there, have the opportunity to break that. All right. We're going to close with some practical application. So how do you actually apply this? Because knowing this like in an intellectual format is one thing, but embodying it, living it daily, that's another. So I'm going to make it super simple for you guys. First, catch yourself in the act of self-judgment. You need to first catch it. Ask your higher self or ask God, pray to say, help me recognize when I'm doing self-judgment. Notice when you're shoulding on yourself. I said shoulding. The moment you hear, I should have known better. I should have done this differently. If only I'd have said this. And if only I'd have done this. Pause and ask this. I want you to ask 3 questions to yourself. This is self-aware questions. And if you need to write these down, I want you to write these down. What did I know then? What was my capacity then? And what was I dealing with then? I'm going to say it again. What did I know then? What was my capacity then? What was I dealing with then? Every time you judge your past, you're choosing your ego story over your soul's wisdom. And when you begin to ask these 3 questions, wisdom from your soul, that eternal wisdom, begins to come out. And when you figure out and gain clarity on these 3 questions, the second practice is to say this sacred phrase, I did what I knew how to do. And I want you to put that on your mirror, really big, whatever you need to do, wherever you need to put it in a piece of paper, in your pocket. And every time you feel the paper, say, I did what I knew how to do. This is how you're going to heal yourself, guys. Once you gain clarity, what did I know then? What was my capacity then? What was I dealing with then? Now, my affirmation to my self-judgment is, I did what I knew how to do. And every choice you're judging, I want you to feel the truth when you say that. I want you to breathe and relax and let that phrase land. Spiritually, let it feed your soul. I did what I knew how to do. Oh, how freeing that is, guys, isn't it? This is not an excuse. I did what I knew how to do. It's not an excuse. It's the foundation of self-forgiveness. And then third, I want you to get curious instead of judgmental. Creativity and curiosity, those things go hand in hand. Instead of asking, why did I do that? I want you to ask, what was the choice trying to teach me? The choice that I made, what was it trying to teach me? And what was my soul learning through that experience? What was it trying to teach me? What was I learning? Because curiosity is the antidote to judgment. When you get curious about your choices, you discover their hidden gifts. And those gifts that have been given to you from God are unique and they're only yours. And those experiences are unique and they're only yours. And you've had them. And they're not bad if you learn from them, if they teach you. The Bible says all things work together for good, don't they? They're for our evolution, for us evolving, for us moving and becoming our higher self. So here's the paradox that's going to blow your brain. The moment you stop judging your past, you actually become capable of making better choices in the future. This is because judgment keeps you energetically tied to the past. It leaves those generational chains. You're still stuck in those. When you're constantly rehashing old choices, you're not present for new opportunities. You're stuck in yesterday's consciousness, that old you, the monkey mind, the reptilian mind. You're stuck in that. You can't create a new future while you're prosecuting your past. And you can only choose victim or victor, but you can't choose both, guys. But when you practice self-compassion, something magical begins to happen. You begin to free up all that energy that was tied up in self-judgment, all the energy that was tied up in generations of shame. And you can take that energy and alchemize it, and it redirects. And where does it redirect? Into manifestation for growth and creation. Oh, it's so exciting. Because self-compassion doesn't make you soft. It makes you unstoppable. Because you stop wasting energy on what was, and you start investing on what could be. And what are those could be? The things that light you up, the things that make you excited, the things that you want in your life. All of those things are on the other side of self-forgiveness. This is why the most successful people aren't those who never make mistakes. They're those who are quick to forgive themselves quickly and learn the lessons and extract the lessons. The fastest way to upgrade your choices is to stop punishing yourself for the past one. So here's my challenge for you guys. For the next 24 hours, every time you catch yourself in self-judgment, I want you to pause, breathe, and say, I did what I knew how to do. I am learning and growing. I am exactly where I need to be. I want you to say this out loud with me. If you're driving, it's perfect. If you're walking, if you can't, I want you to say it in your mind if there's people around you. Close your eyes and say this. I did what I knew how to do. I am learning and growing. I am exactly where I need to be. Then take a deep breath through your nose. How do you feel? Isn't that amazing? Imagine doing that every day, multiple times a day. I did what I knew how to do. I am learning and growing. I'm exactly where I need to be. So freeing. It's putting a smile on my face. I know it's for you too. Self-compassion isn't about lowering your standards. It's about raising your capacity to meet them. Because here's the truth. You're not broken. God doesn't make broken things. You're not Toy Story with that old place where all the broken toys at. That's not what it is. You're not behind. You're not messing up your life. You're a soul having a human experience, learning and growing through every single choice you make. And these choices are not right or wrong. They're choices to evolve you into these higher densities, into these higher levels. Rudolf Steiner says something so beautiful. And if you guys haven't heard of him, I would look him up. He died in the 1920s, but he wrote a bunch of books. He said we're all angels in training, that our higher self is actually angels. Like we move up into those levels. Your past doesn't define you. It refines you. Every choice was perfect for your soul's curriculum. So guys, if this episode gave you permission to stop being your own worst enemy, the number one thing you can do, I always say this, is share it with someone. Share it with a family member, a great friend who needs to hear it. Because there are people out there, and you know someone right now. You know their name's like on your head right now that are torturing themselves. They made choices a decade ago, a year ago, 6 months ago with this breakup or whatever it may be, or something that was done to them horrifically. And they still haven't forgiven themselves. They're like, if I only would have done this, they're shooting on themselves all the time. The moment you forgive yourself for being human, you remember that you're also divine. Guys, this has been HDL Podcast. Remember, you did what you knew how to do. Now, you know more. Now, you can do more. But always with the compassion for the journey.